Hello there, in this short video I'm going to be explaining to you all about the toolbox brought to you by BotTools. Now, the toolbox is amazing. It is completely free for you to add to all of your ManyChat accounts, unlocking all of those things that you couldn't do before, or you could with some complex code, but now it is at the click of a button you're going to be able to implement some very complicated things very simply. And just to point out again, it's free, so why haven't you added it? Now let me show you what we've got. So the first things we've got here is we're going to go through all of these tools. Now this is going to take a little bit of time, but I'm going to fly through them at super speed to give you a general idea what they do and roughly how they work. If you would like to learn more about each of these tools, you're always capable of just clicking into have a view of one of them, and once you do, you're then going to be able to click onto the help button, and from here you can watch an entire video tutorial dedicated to this particular tool. So without further ado, we're going to go through each of these one at a time. Now the first tool we're going to start with is the random number tool. Now the random number tool is a brilliant tool for anybody to ever start with. This tool is fantastic. What it will do is exactly what it sounds like. It is going to create a random number for you. One of the easiest ways to go ahead and use this is inside of manual mode. From here you can choose what are the two numbers between that you would want to have your random number. So in this use case it's 3 and 13, and I would want this random number to be allocated to this user field that you can click here and select from your ManyChat account. Now let's go on to the next tool. So in this tool I'm going to be showing you how to use the rounding off of number tool. So as you can see in rounding numbers, what you're going to first want to select is a user field of where you're going to have a number that you want to have rounded off. You can either have this inside of a bot field as well. Now once you've gone ahead and selected that user field or bot field that you want to be able to round off that number, you're going to need to choose how many numbers do we want after the decimal point. Usually most people want to round off their numbers to the decimal point of 2. After this, you're then going to choose the output field that you're then going to have all of your your number then allocated to. So this is your input, this is your output, and this is how many numbers you would like after the decimal point. Now let's get on with the next tool. Now that we have covered all of the number tools, let's start with some of the convert field tools. So the first convert field tool we're going to go to is called field to audio. Field to audio is really simple. All you're going to do is select user field, and from here you're then going to be able to select a user field where you're going to be able to have allocated a user input of an audio track. From here what would then going to happen is that you're going to convert this audio track into an actual audio element inside of Messenger, giving you that final touch to make everything look exactly like how it would between a conversation between a customer and its friend, but more between you, the customer, and your business. Now let's move on to the next tool. So this next tool is very much like the field to audio, but instead this time we're going to be talking about field to video. Now as you can see, field to video, again very simple. You're just going to select the user field where someone is going to send you their video. Once you've gone ahead and selected that user field, you're then going to be able to convert this into an actual video element inside of Messenger. If you want to learn how to use this one more efficiently, you're going to be able to click onto the help button up here for you to be able to then look at a video on how you can use this tool in certain scenarios. Now let's move on to the next tool. And finally, we're left with the field to file tool. Now this tool is a really great one if you want to convert a user field actually into a PDF element or any other type of file that somebody might send to you. So what we're going to do is click onto field to file, and again it's exactly like the other two before, where you're going to be able to select either user field or bot field, and then from here have a drop down of the user fields of where your user would send you their file element. And from here, if you wanted to, you're going to be able to convert this actually into a file element back into a Messenger conversation, making it a lot more relatable to your users. Now let's move on to the next tool. Now this next tool is called field to tag, and what it will do is it will allow you to create a tag on the fly based on a user field input, being very useful for a handful of different scenarios. Now inside of this tool, you can see that I can select either a user field or a bot field, and then from here I will get a drop down of all of my user fields or bot fields. This will be the user field, for instance, that you will gather from a user, and this will be the value that will then create a tag. If you would like to, you're also going to be able to add the tag to the user as the action takes place. So for instance, if you wanted to, you could ask a user, hey, what is your favorite color? And then they would answer with their favorite color. That would then create a tag with the name of that favorite color. And if you wanted to, you could then attach it to your user. Now let's move on to the next tool. Now this tool is really special. It is referred to as add to field. Now add to field is almost like a shopping list capability with one user field. You're going to be able to place multiple user field entries into one user field. So you could ask somebody, hey, can you tell me an item you'd like to add to your shopping list? And then you'll take that answer and you'll add it to another user field. And with each entry as we place it, we're going to place a comma in between to separate out the actual entry points. Now let me show you how you're going to be able to use this tool. So as you can see, the first thing that you're going to be able to select is a user field or a bot field that is going to be the input for this item to the other user field. You're then going to be able to choose a symbol that will then be able to act as the marker in between of each input for your user field. And finally, you're then going to be able to choose a bot field or a user field again for you to then be able to then have all of that information from the first user field into this user field. So this is the user field where you would have all of the inputs if the multiple inputs were made, and this would be the divider, and then this is where you would have all of those inputs with the dividers in the middle of them. Now let's move on to the next tool. Now this tool is absolutely amazing. It is referred to as field filter. Now field filter, what it will do for you is, let's imagine that somebody gives you an input, and let's say you ask someone for how much they have spent. Let's say this person then answers with you and you only want the actual number. So you want the number 34, but you don't want them to put in a pound or dollar or euro symbol along with this. What you're going to be able to do is to extract what you don't want from an input, such as the symbols, and only have the numbers in the scenario that I showed you. Now let me show you how to use this tool. So inside of this tool, field filter, again, what you've got is the input field, which you can select, and either will be a user field or bot field. And from here, you have the drop down where you're going to be able to select what user field is going to be the input. From here, you're then going to be able to select what allowed characters you're going to want. So I only want lowercase and uppercase letters and numbers. I do not, on the other hand, want any special characters. So if the user did put any special characters in, we would then delete this. Now the answer, the user field without the special characters, essentially in this scenario you see here, would then be placed into this user field that you can then select from your selection here. Now this tool is very easy to set up and can be used for a lot of different use cases. I am more than sure that you're already thinking of a few. So whilst I let you think about that, I'm just going to move over to the next tool. Now this next tool is really groundbreaking. It is referred to as split field, and what it will do is it will allow you to ask a user for a multiple answered question. For instance, you could say to someone, what are your 3 favorite colors? And you would ask them to please separate the answer with a comma or some sort of special character, for instance. At this point, what will happen is that we will be able to take each of those 3 colors with the comma in between of them and then separate their answers into 3 individual user fields for you to then have into separate user fields for whatever scenario it is that you're trying to build in your ManyChat bot. So let me show you how you're going to be able to use this tool. Now, split field is very simple. You're going to choose either your user field or your bot field that is going to have the input for what you want to have split up. This is then going to be the user field that you can then select just from here, and then from this point you'll then choose what is going to be the divider for the input itself. So in the example I told you before, you could go with a comma or you could go with a minus entry. Afterwards, I asked my user, what are your 3 favorite colors? And because there's a divider in the middle of them, I'm then going to be able to place each of those colors into their own separate user field. Now, to learn how you're going to be able to use this tool, I would like you to go ahead and click onto the help button. From here, you're going to be able to watch an intimate video tutorial on how this tool works. Now, whilst you go ahead and look at that video, I'm going to move over to the next tool. Okay, so this next tool is great if you wanted to be able to check off of a password or check a bio for the amount of words that they wanted on their bio. Now, this field counting tool is great if you're going to be able to need to do these things. So let me show you how you're going to be able to set it up. Now, the field counting tool is very simple. This is going to be the user field where you're going to have your input, for instance, for the amount of words or letters that you would like to count. Afterwards, you're then going to say what I would like to count. It's either the amount of letters or the amount of words. And then afterwards, this user field will have the number that has the amount of letters and the amount of words inside of it. Now, this is a very useful tool if you wanted to check off a password or to check the amount of words in a bio that somebody might have sent off to you. I'm more than sure there are plenty of other use cases, and whilst you're having a little think about that, I'm going to move over to the next tool. Okay, so this next tool is something that a lot of people have been asking for. It's called Update Subscriber. And what it will do is allow you to have any user field values and update those values to represent the subscriber fields inside of your ManyChat account. Let me show you how you're going to be able to use this tool inside of the toolbox. So this is the Update Subscriber, and as you can see, it's a very simple tool. All you're going to be able to do is to select user fields that will have a value that you will want to then update into the system fields. Okay, so it's very, very simple. You can see you're only needing to select the user fields that you have from your ManyChat account. Now I'm going to move over to the next tool to show you what extra little bits that we have for you. Now, this tool is very simple. It is called the clear bot field. And what it will do, it will empty out the value of a bot field to you, so it actually has no value whatsoever. Unlike ManyChat, where it allows you to force your bot field always to have a value. So here inside of the clear bot field, all you're going to do is you're going to choose any of the bot fields you have from your ManyChat account, and then you're just going to need to copy this URL and place it into either an external request or a dynamic block for you to then have to clear it once the user goes through that external request or dynamic block. Now let me show you what we have as the next tool. Now, this tool has been asked for by a lot of people, and we have just made something very complicated and something very simple. Sometimes you might want to generate codes for passwords or even coupons or loyalty codes, all sorts of different types of things you might want to do with this tool. Now, let me show you how you're going to be able to use the code generator tool. So the code generator tool, very, very simple. What you're going to do is select how many characters you would like your code to have. And then after this, you're then going to say what types of characters that you would like your code to have as well. So we can choose lowercase or uppercase. We can also choose special characters and also numbers. Now, afterwards, you're going to need to choose a user field or a bot field where this code is going to be sent to. So from here, you could then just drop down and choose the user field that you need to have this code sent to. Now, it's a very, very effective tool to have. And whilst I let you have a little think about how you're going to be able to use this, I'm going to move over to the next tool. Now, this next tool is the last convert field tool that I have to show you. And it's most probably the most popular one as well. This is called the phone corrector tool, and what it will do for you is imagine that sometimes some of your users, they give you their SMS number but they don't add the country code to it. Now what will happen is that this tool, you're going to be able to place a link into a button, and once your user has given you their phone number, you're going to be able to ask them to click the button, and this will then check what country they are currently in and add the correct country code to their phone number, giving you a better way to be able to contact them via SMS. Now, this tool is very simple to set up. All you're going to do is to select a user field, user field that will carry the phone number that the user has given you. You're then going to select a flow that will then carry on after once the user has clicked the button. And here you can choose whether or not this user field SMS number is going to update onto the system field. Now it's pretty nifty that we add that little bit at the end there, the no and yes. The reason why we do this is that we don't want you to have to like chain along all of our different tools, and in some of them we just add the functionality to the actual basic tool so that you're not going to have to do as much work. BotTools is always trying to think of how we can cover your back essentially. Now let me move on to the next tools and show you what extra bits of work we've got for you. Now this next tool is great if you want to be able to know if your user is on a desktop or on a mobile device, or what browser, or pretty much anything about the device they're on. It's referred to as device detection, this tool. So let me show you how you're going to be able to set it up. Now, device detection, what you're going to do is you're going to need to select 3 different user fields. One for the operating system, one for the browser name, and one for the device type. Now what's going to happen is that your user is going to click a button, and they're going to get this button URL from the blue button up here. Once they've gone ahead and click this button, they're then going to move on to a flow, and you can select the flow from here. If you'd like to know more about this tool and how you're going to be able to use it, you can always click onto the help button up here, where you can get an in-depth video on exactly how to use device detection. Now whilst you go ahead and have a little check out on that video, I'm going to move over to the next tool. Now this next tool is great if you work with RSS feeds. If you've ever wanted to bring in the news into your chatbot, this is an exactly tool that you're going to want to use. So let me show you how you're going to be able to use it. Now the RSS feed is very simple for you to be able to use. You're just going to need to place the URL of the RSS feed up here. You're then going to be able to have a keyword filter. Also the button label is going to be view article in this case scenario. You can also limit the amount of gallery cards you would like to show on your RSS feed, and also place in the date format of your RSS feed as well. Once you've gone ahead and set up all of these preferences, you're only going to need to click onto the copy URL, and to place that URL into a dynamic content block, as well as adding full subscriber data from the body, click save, and you're all ready to go to show the top news feed inside of your Messenger bot. Now I'm going to move over to the next tool and show you what are the last few that we have installed for you. Now this next tool is all about date and time and formatting. Now ManyChat already supplies date and time formatting, but we've gone ahead and made it a little bit extra good for you by adding languages to be able to present your date and time not only as Thursday to every single person, but as vendredi or jeudi, or whatever language it is that you would like to be able to present it in. So let me show you how you're going to be able to show this. Now, date and formatting, very simple for you to be able to use. This is the inputs field of where the date and time is going to go. This is how you would like the date and time to be shown. This is the language that you would like the date and time to be shown in. And then at the end, you've got the output of where you would like this information to be presented to. Once you've gone ahead and set up all of this, you're only going to need to click onto copy URL and place this into a dynamic field inside of your ManyChat account, and you're all ready to rock to show your date and time properly to your users. Now, this next tool is all about date and time manipulation, meaning what you're going to be able to do is either add or subtract time from a date and time bot field or user input. This can be useful in so many different ways. One personal use case I had for it was that we were scanning users as they came into a venue, and if they came in, let's say very late at night, we would want to contribute their visit to the day before, not at 1 in the morning on, say, a Friday. So we were able to minus the amount of time and say this was actually a Thursday visit, not a Friday morning visit. So let me show you how you're going to be able to use this tool. Now, as you can see here, the first thing is going to be the user field input for the date and time of when the action, let's say, was placed. Afterwards, you're then going to be able to say, I would like to plus or minus the amount of time from this user field. And I can either do this manually by saying I would like to add, in this case, 3 hours to this input, or if I would like to, I can do it via custom fields. And I can do this by selecting the custom field that is going to hold the value for the amount of time that I would like to add, and then I can choose the units of how many I would like to then add as well. Now down here at the bottom, you're then going to be able to choose either user field or a bot field for where you would like your output to then go, so that you would have this manipulated time and date set into this user field. Now, whilst I let you go and have a quick look at this video showing you also how to use this tool, I'm going to get on and start explaining the next date and time tool we have from the toolbox. Okay, so this is our last tool for date and time, and it is a bit of a doozy, to be honest with you. This one will be able to calculate the amount of time between two date and time blocks, and it's referred to as date difference tool. So let me show you how you're going to be able to use it. So what you're going to have is the input of the first date and time, and then you've got the second date and time. And what we're going to want to do is to work out how much time is between those two inputs. So we're going to say that the output is going to be sent to a user field, and we're then going to be able to select the user field of where we will have the output sent to. We're then going to say that we would like to know the amount of hours between these two inputs, and we would like to have only two decimal numbers after the decimal point. You can also choose other types of metrics to be able to count the amount of time between your two user inputs, and you can also change the amount of numbers after the decimal point. Now, a really great use case for this type of tool would be, let's say you ask somebody when they were born, and you know what today's current date is because you know the date and time of when they placed in the action. You'll be able to work out how many hours or how many years old they currently are if you wanted to do something upon that kind of nature. Now, whilst I let you think of some other scenarios, I'm going to start showing you the last tool we have inside of the toolbox currently. Now, for the last tool, we have the QR code. Now, this is a great tool if you ever want to place a QR code into your ManyChat bot for so many different reasons. You could ask a user, hey, can you tell me your favorite website? Maybe they'd like to send one of their friends to it and they're there in person. They want them to scan a QR code. There are just so many reasons. You could create a QR code and connect it with the code generator and place the code value to that QR code. There is so many reasons and how you're going to be able to use this tool, and it is free, remember, so I hope to see you adding the toolbox to your account. Now let me show you how you're going to be able to place a QR code into your ManyChat account. So the QR code tool's very simple. You're just going to need to either select user field or bot field. You're then going to select the user field that is going to carry the value of what you would like to represent inside of this QR code. And then once you've done that, you're just going to click onto copy URL. And once you've clicked that, you're going to put it into a dynamic content block inside of your flow, inside of your ManyChat account. Now, that's all the tools that we have to show you today. I hope you've enjoyed this video going through as a quick demo to each of these tools with an explainer from myself. If there are any other types of tools that you're thinking, oh my God, I wish that existed, it would make my life so much easier, please get in touch with me. I am always happy to talk and work out if we can make a tool to figure out the type of action that you're trying to do inside of your ManyChat flows. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again soon.